Today, we have a very special Valentine's Day episode with my husband, Chief Relatabro. We are answering your relationship questions and so much more. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com, code Allie. That's goodranchers.com, code Allie. Hey guys, welcome to Relatable. Happy Thursday and happy almost Valentine's Day. To celebrate the Day of Love, I am hosting my love, Chief Relatabro, on the show today, Timothy. Those of you who have been following the show for a long time, you will recognize him, and you may even remember the episode that we did together 5 years ago. I believe it was 5 years ago when I was pregnant with our oldest, and we haven't been on together since then, but he's a big part of the show, and I know that you all have been excited about this. So welcome, CR.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My first time on this couch. It's great.
Yeah.
Love the studio, love the setup, so it'll be fun.
Thanks. Okay, we have questions to answer, but we will kind of start with just sharing our story and how we met. And some of you probably already know the story, but a lot of you out there don't. So do you want to start with where we first met?
Sure. I can start. So a little background. We were living in Athens, Georgia at the time. As has been documented, we didn't go to the same college. I went to the University of Georgia. But we were both in Athens after school, and it was a great place to live, but it's kind of odd that you would both be after graduation from college, living in a college town, and having not gone to the same school, and then you would meet your spouse. And so we were working out at the gym that we were both going to at the time, and it was just great, just to see her and to kind of, we hit it off right away and started talking, and one thing led to another, led to dating, and then to here we are now. It's kind of the beginning of it. There's more details within there, but yeah. A little bit of the story.
We were, what you're saying is it's unique because a lot of people who are living in Athens are either like students, they're like grad students. There's just not a lot of people like working professionally in the college town, but we were both working and we met at, it wasn't like an LA Fitness type gym. Not that there's anything wrong with meeting at that kind of gym, but it was a gym that had classes, and it was kind of like a CrossFit type gym. And so we started taking the same classes. I think we noticed each other. We just started chatting in class, but then we started chatting after class in the parking lot. We would just like stand in the parking lot outside of each other's cars. And then one night we were talking and talking. We weren't texting or anything outside of this, weren't going on dates. We just started talking, and we were talking longer and longer. And one night it was what, like?
It was like 4 hours. And I think after that time, I was like, okay, this has been 4 hours. We should go on a date. And so that's whenever I got your phone number and was like, we're going to set up a date. And so after that, we did. We started going on official dates after that. And yeah, it just went from there.
Yeah. And I actually knew before we even went on our date, I think it was the night that we talked from like 6 p.m. when class was over to 10, just like standing outside of my car. Who even knows everything we were talking about? But I left a voicemail, I think, for my friend who's also named Allie. And I said, I know the man that I'm going to marry. And she thought that I was crazy at the time because we weren't even dating yet, but I just knew.
Yeah.
And that's a question that we have is like, how do you know that the person is the one? Like, how did you know that I was the one? So what would you say to that?
Well, a couple things, and going back on your story there, I mean, there's a few things to highlight what our conversations were. I remember the conversations. They were good, and they were interesting, but it was a lot along the lines of like, what type of books do you like? What type of things like are interesting to you? What kind of gets you going in your brain? And those are the things that kind of just sparks in your mind and in your heart. Like, this person's different. This person is someone that I want to be with and want to spend more and more time with. And so the fact that those conversations weren't just surface level, they were, for lack of a better word, deep. They were good conversations. And I remember also they were fun, like trying to get you to like some music that I was into. And might have swung and missed, at some of those songs you probably didn't think were as cool as I thought they were. But like, we had a good time being around each other and just talking about things that interest us. And fortunately, a lot of our interests aligned, a lot of our background aligned, how we were raised was aligned. And I think just when it is kind of a trite saying, but it is true. When you have so many things lined up, you don't need to overthink it. It's like, this person makes me happy. I'm attracted to them. And I just know that the way things are going is different than, any person that I've ever talked to in the past. And it was very clear with you, clear and obvious. And then we were both in a situation where, we weren't, we were just freshly out of college. So young still, and very young by a lot of the standards of the world to be thinking about marriage. But we were both certain that we wanted to get married.
Yeah.
Now, whether it was going to be to each other, we were still figuring that out because we were dating. But it became clear quickly. But we were both ready in the sense that we want to find our spouse. We're not just dating for fun.
Yeah.
We're not just dating because this is what you do in this stage of life. And like, let's go see, what kind of fun we can have. We were wanting to have fun, but wanting for the ultimate goal of finding your spouse. And I think you have to pair the mindset of knowing that you are ready personally to get married with, does this person match that? And you really don't need to overthink it. It's just like, this person makes me happy. This person is a Christian. This person, I can see their heart and their desire for the Lord. And you just go from there.
Quick pause for our first sponsor for the day, and that is Hillsdale. We talked about Hillsdale last week, their awesome response to another Christian university taking back their celebration of an alumnus who joined the Trump administration. Hillsdale College said, nope, we are not going to retract our congratulations of this person because Hillsdale is not woke. Hillsdale is actually Christian. They actually stand by their biblical values. They're unapologetically pro-America, pro-Constitution. And you can see that in everything they do, including their curriculum. We know that the university system, unfortunately, even professing Christian universities, that they so often espouse far left progressive values. And you might even be skeptical about sending your child to college at all. But if you want to make sure that you send your kids to a college that is actually continuing to instill in your child the principles with which you raise them, then you need to check out Hillsdale. Also, they have 40 online free courses for you to take. So this would be a really great way for you to check them out and see what they're about and also learn something. I love C.S. Lewis. He's been a big part of my faith journey, and they have this course that is just about C.S. Lewis and his books, and it's really illuminating. They also have Introduction to Aristotle's Ethics, How to Lead a Good Life. They've got a course on the stories in the book of Genesis, so much. Check them out. Go to hillsdale.edu/relatable. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. hillsdale.edu/relatable. I just remember before I met Timothy, when people would say, oh, when you know, like I would talk to married couples in their 20s, or I had some families who mentored me through college. And when I was like trying to figure out, how do you know the person that you're supposed to marry? And they would just say that. I heard it from so many people, when you know. And I was like, that's so frustrating because I have like all of this on paper and I'm thinking about this about my life and I just don't know. But then I met Timothy and I was like, oh, I get it now. And I understand if you're listening to this and you're dating or you're single and you're thinking, well, that is really frustrating because you're not giving me like a tangible checklist. Of course, strong Christian, growing in their faith. I think it's important to know like what their family background is, what their friends say about them, how do they handle different things in their life. How do they handle adversity? How do they handle inconvenience? There are a lot of different things that I think that you can look at. But at the end of the day, feelings do matter. They're not the only thing that matters, but they do matter and they're important. And I think that clicking, whatever you want to call it, whether it's the Holy Spirit discernment or whether it's just like this knowledge, this love for this attraction for this person. I think the combination of the checklist of is this a righteous person walking with the Lord and the attraction and the clicking, I think both of those things are really important.
Yeah.
Some people would say that the emotion, the clicking, it doesn't really matter, but gosh, I am so thankful that I found the person that I just like click with. And I would just personally, I would encourage people not to settle for the person that you're thinking in the back of your mind, like, oh, they're great on paper. Why don't I feel like this is my future spouse? Why can't I picture myself forever with them? My personal perspective is that you shouldn't be with that person because there's something there that's telling you it's not right.
Do you like the person? Like,
Yeah.
do you like them? Do you like being around them? You don't want to force yourself to love someone. And we were truly blessed. We were truly blessed that we had that. We had somebody that we both liked and loved, and that, we were ready to go, and we knew that. And so it is something that you do need to take seriously, and that you do need to really focus on the things that matter. And then on the other side, do we enjoy each other? And fortunately, we do, because that gets you through a lot of things. Like, marriage is hard, especially we're almost at our 10-year mark. And, you get 5, 6, 7 years in, things are harder. You might have kids in the mix as well. Do you
Less
like
sleep.
being around the person?
Yeah.
Do you like them? Really helps, and it goes a long way. Outside of obviously our covenantal marriage, like, we have that we are with each other no matter what. But at the end of the day, do you like the person or not?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
it really helps.
it does.
It helps a lot because you will go through difficult seasons. Like, we have 3 kids and we genuinely love being parents and like spending time with our kids. Both of us value quality time so much, but everyone knows those baby and toddler years are hard, especially when you're adjusting to less sleep and more responsibility and more noise. Like, we sometimes look back and we think about the time, like, right before we had kids. You had a work schedule where you didn't have to work on Wednesdays for some reason.
Yeah.
And we would literally just like take our dog and walk to the neighborhood pool with like a cooler full of sandwiches.
Yeah.
And we're like, what? And we were probably stressed and probably thought we had so much going on.
Oh yeah.
But so many different seasons. I would never wish to go back to that season, even though it was like beautiful at the time. And we did so much like that we just loved and had fun with. But now our lives are so much richer. And now that we work together full time, I would say that's added another level of appreciation.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And it goes back to something that both of our parents have told us in context of having kids, is to enjoy each season of life. So enjoy each season of life that your kids are, the newborn stage, toddler stage, and then we haven't gotten here yet, but whenever they get older, enjoy that still. My parents tell me, we're still having fun with the fact that y'all are adults and y'all have kids now. This is great. We love, every season of every season of a kid's life. And the same goes with marriage too. Love every season of it. Enjoy it. You're going to be newlywed. That's going to feel awesome. And it's a great season. You can do fun things like walk down to your favorite restaurant at 8 p.m. on a Thursday, or go to, the pool in the middle of the day on a Wednesday because your job schedule is flexible that day, like I had whenever I had those Wednesdays off. So those are fun things that you can do kind of carefree, but then you have the joy of welcoming in your children into the world and bringing them along for the ride too. And every stage of marriage is something that you can cherish, and it's not easy. Nothing in this life is supposed to be easy, but we have joy in it because we have the ultimate joy in Christ, and then we have the joy in doing it together with each other. And that reminds me of something else about when when you're ready to get married, like, you don't need to overthink that either. It's like, if you were both stable, if you were both adults, if you were both in Christ, then that's a good time for you to get started and for you to get going. You don't have to wait until you're further along in your career. You don't have to wait until something else happens. Do it together. Enjoy the ride together. And I think that's a big thing of what we did too, is that we just kind of got started. We weren't making a ton of money. If anything, like, we were just out our first jobs and out of college, and we took the ride together.
You would probably laugh if you knew what our salaries were.
Yeah, if you knew that, and then also what we were living on, though. I mean, we were basically glorified college students. I mean, our apartment was in the middle of college students.
Lived
And
in a triplex.
Yeah, in a triplex. And,
our laundry unit was in our kitchen. I think that you're thinking our laundry room was by the kitchen. No, our washer and dryer were right next to our refrigerator.
Stacked on top of each other.
Yeah. And we decided that would be a good time to get a cat.
Yeah, it was a great time. So, so doing that part of life together, just taking on the challenges together, I think only made it even better, because now we're taking on this new challenge, this new endeavor of running our own business and raising kids. And it's a fun ride to take. Yeah.
Our lives have changed so much since we first got started. Neither of us were doing the thing that we wanted to do long term, but neither of us knew what we wanted to do long term. I wasn't doing anything like this. I didn't, I started my blog, Conservative Millennial, in, I guess, 2015, but that was after we got married. So, and I had no even inkling of what it would look like. And, you didn't want to do mortgages forever. Yeah. And you had no idea what that would look like. And we just kind of I don't know, we just went for it. And then when you decided to apply for jobs that moved us to a new city, I had no idea what I was going to do. And so there were a lot of leaps of faith over the past 10 years.
Absolutely. And I think moving out and doing what we did to take a job somewhere else, to get us into a bigger city with more opportunities was a leap of faith, and it has worked out very well. And during that time, I was able to work and to have that job, which was a great job at a great company for me to have at the time. And it allowed you to be able to kind of explore, what does this look like for me to make videos and to write.
I didn't even apply for jobs.
Anything. Yeah, you didn't have a job formally, while we were doing that. And that was a great season to where I could just do that, and I could focus on getting, all my whatever I needed to get done, whether it was licenses or continuing education or other, things going. And you were able to just figure out, what this would look like.
We lived with my brother.
We lived with your brother for a little bit.
He was very generous to allow us and our cat, Rachel McAdams, who has since passed.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. She could be living her best life with a new family. She did run away. It's really sad. But we lived with my brother at the time. So another just very, very different time in our lives. And that was the time that I, through so many different just providential moments, got led to the Blaze at the time. And I was exploring that while you were working. But yeah, it's just hard to believe that was 9 years ago. We were living with my brother, no kids, still trying to figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been quite the journey since. And, it doesn't feel like that long ago, but
it doesn't.
Was come along.
But at the same time, it feels like multiple lifetimes ago.
Oh, yeah.
Second sponsor for the day is Jase Medical. If you ever get in a situation where for whatever reason you can't get to the medication that you need, like life-saving antibiotics, you want to make sure that you have an emergency stash that can literally save your life. In a Jase case, you can get the most common antibiotics for the most common infections, and you can add on to your Jase case things like Tamiflu or an EpiPen, and all of these things can be a real game changer if you get in some kind of health emergency. You can also get a Jase Daily case. That's a year-long emergency stash of the prescriptions that you and your family rely on, whether it's some kind of weather calamity, another kind of natural disaster, or something happens to the supply chain, which unfortunately we've seen over the past few years. You just want to make sure that your family is prepared and cared for in this way. They've got a giveaway going on right now all month long, and you can enter to win your own travel case. And so that is a Jase case with some of those antibiotics and other things that you want to add on when you go to jase.com, enter their giveaway. You can also just purchase your own case there using code Allie for a discount. That's jase.com, code Allie. Okay, here's a question. I don't think it's on the list.
Okay.
But I think you and I might have differing opinions on this.
Okay.
So we dated for 4 months and we were engaged for 5 months, right? Or was it the opposite?
I always get confused, but
I
I
know.
think it was
9 total months.
I think it was 5 and 4.
We knew each other. I think we first saw each other, maybe met each other in August of 2014, got married September 2015. And so I used to always say, yeah, you know what? When you know, just go ahead and get married. I still think that about engagement. I don't think that people should be engaged for a long time, especially if you're Christians. You're trying to wait till marriage. Like, I don't think you should put yourself through that. You can plan a wedding in 4 months. You don't need a full year to plan a wedding. You just don't. That's my opinion on that. Dating, while I do not regret how we did it as individuals, I would not go back and change that because it worked out for us. And we were so ready to get engaged and get married. However, in principle, if I were just to give blanket advice to someone and I don't know all of their circumstances, I think my general rule, okay? And the internet does not like in principle or in general because they'll be like, okay, hear me when I say those specifications. I would say 1 year. Okay. Date for 1 year, go through all seasons of the year. This is not novel advice. You've probably heard this from plenty of people before, but I feel like within Christian circles, they're like, no, 2 weeks is fine. I think 1 year, see how they are in different circumstances. How do they deal with inconvenience? How do they deal with frustration, with disappointment, with rejection in different ways? How do they go through trials? What are their relationships like? I think that in principle, it is really good to see those different facets of a person before you get engaged. And I think in general, a year is probably a good time frame for that. What do you think?
Well, I haven't thought about it too much, but my first thought would be thinking about the people would be like, oh no, don't say in general or don't give specifics. I would be like, okay, well, if it's not a full year, it's probably okay. It depends on the actual circumstance of the couple. Like, how ready are you? Maybe you've met later in life. Maybe you're in your mid 30s or your 40s or whenever it is. And you know, and y'all are both ready to get started making a family, doing all the things that you need to do together. I don't know. I wouldn't wait some arbitrary number of months. Not that that's arbitrary necessarily, but I would say, if you are certain you've already played the game out in your head, you know what you need to do. Maybe that's not the case, but yeah, sure. If you're younger and you are still trying to figure each other out, your frontal lobe isn't even fully developed yet. Maybe you do want to take a little bit more time and to understand this person through different seasons and through different moments and how they do handle adversity in certain ways. So I think there could be some wisdom in that too. So yeah, I think that could be wise.
Yeah. Okay. I love this question because I've said this before and I'm sure they would love to hear what you think. Is the phrase, if he wanted to, he would, always true when it comes to guys and dating?
Again, we're talking about always and saying all these things. I can't speak to every particular circumstance, but I do think, I know for me personally that I could not, we maxed out the amount of time that I could go not married to you. We were so excited, so ready. And I do think I knew and I'm ready to go. And if he's not ready to commit, then he might not want to ever commit. So I do think there's some validity to that in a way that, it's been years. You are, living your life, whether it's together or whether it's, I don't know your exact circumstance, but if he was ready to go, he would be ready to go. Now that might not be you personally. That might be his personal situation. Maybe he is still, maybe he's trying to put together some things, if starting a business or has a certain, level of his job. Now, I do think still there's some validity to just doing it together. But maybe he is trying to line some things up to make sure that he can be the husband and the provider for you that he needs to be. But I do think there is some validity too. If he was ready to be married to you, he would be married to you.
Yeah. So that's the answer in the bigger ultimate question of committing. If he wanted to, he would commit. I say, again, in general, that is true. Mm-hmm. If he wants to be married to you, everything else can fall into place, but he knows that you are the biggest piece to fall into place, and he knows he's got to make that happen before everything else. That's my view. But what about the smaller things, if he wanted to text you back quickly, he would. If he wanted to show you thoughtful romance on Valentine's Day, he would. I say if he really wanted to, he would do those things. Other people might say, well, that's not fair. He's not thinking, maybe he just wasn't thinking, or maybe she didn't lay out her expectations enough, or maybe he's busy. Like, I think those are all excuses. If he wanted to, he would.
Yeah.
Do you think I should give the benefit of the doubt more to guys who maybe aren't measuring up in the dating game?
I do think there is some validity to that. Like, if he wanted to sweep you off your feet, then he would. Like if he really genuinely wanted to do that, I do think he would. I mean, I was very thoughtful in the things, or I think I was thoughtful. I tried to be thoughtful because I wanted to impress you. If he was trying to impress you, then he would. Men have a way of getting the things that they want and what they really have set their minds to. And I do think that if you are trying to get something that you want, like if you're trying to get a spouse, a wife, then you're going to go pursue it and you're going to go do it. And I do think that men have a unique way, a particular way of getting the things that they want, whether it's conscious or subconscious. So yeah, if he wanted to. Now maybe he's just not thinking correctly. He's like, oh, this is what she actually wants. She wants me to be kind of,
Play hard to get
and all this stuff. Then I do think you've kind of been warped by the culture. I think women want to be pursued.
Yeah.
And go do it, man.
Yeah. And you should also, as a woman, like, be pursuable. I do think, and this kind of leads to another question. I think there is, even in today's girl boss culture, and obviously I am a strong opinionated person. And yeah, I would say, you can tell me from a guy's perspective, that there is a softness that men are looking for in the girls they want to marry. Doesn't mean that they have to be pushovers. The girls have to be just wallflowers or a doormat, but they're looking for a bit of gentleness, a bit of softness, a bit of just femininity. That there is, I would say, I think the girl boss, harsh, I don't need no man, but secretly I do want a guy to be chivalrous and pursue me. That could possibly put guys in a really difficult position. He might be physically attracted to a girl and want to pursue her, but she's put off this persona of I don't need you, that is intimidating, and he doesn't know how to navigate.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that I think there's two types that it can go that way, with maybe this girl boss attitude of I don't need anybody, and you're shut down that way. There's also the timidity factor too, of you are shut down in general. Maybe it's not just to men, maybe it's to everyone. Maybe you are quiet and more timid and putting off, whether you intend to or not, an attitude that just doesn't want to be approached. And I think now, whenever I was pursuing you, you had that feminine, playfulness almost. You were open to having conversation, and that would be your personality, because you're open to having conversation with anyone, whether it was, in our case, romantic or not. But you were friendly, and there is a friendliness of, I think that women have in particular that men might not.
Flirtatious.
Yeah, it's a little flirtatious, but you're friendly and you're open to having conversation in general. I think for a lot of people, for all people, having an openness to having conversation with people is a good thing. But in particular, whenever you're trying to be, whether it's pursued by a man in this particular instance, you were agreeable to having a conversation with me. And I think that was the first step into me being oh, I can now pursue her. It doesn't mean that you were, that you were taking the lead, that you were trying to get me, or any of that stuff, but you were in general open to, being friendly. Hi, how are you? Remembered that my birthday was over the weekend.
Yeah.
Little things like that do add up to allowing a man to feel like he has the permission to really pursue you in a full, throated way. I'm actually going to go and pursue this woman for an intention of dating and then potentially marriage. So yeah, I do think that there is the standoffishness does not play well with wanting to be pursued. A man doesn't want to, not that you're feeling rejection necessarily, but it's just, it's not something that you would want to go and pursue something that is clearly shut off to you.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, if I do say so myself, about how to show your interest in a guy without becoming the pursuer. Is when I remembered your birthday, he had told me just like an offhand remark, I think a couple weeks earlier, oh yeah, my birthday is October 19th. I'm turning 24, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. And, we didn't talk about it. But then the Monday after I knew it, I tracked it. I remembered it in my mind. And the Monday after his birthday, I said, oh, like, how was going home to your family? How was your birthday?
Yeah.
And he was flattered that I remembered his birthday. And that was just like my way of saying, hey, like, our conversations are important to me. They're not just something that I am, doing subconsciously because I'm friendly with everyone, but I'm remembering what you're saying because I'm interested in you as a
Yeah.
person. I think little things like that open guys up to saying, oh, like, okay, this person really likes me.
It gives permission.
Yeah.
It gives permission to the man in that instance without you being the one that is doing the pursuing. So it's not allowing you weren't the one taking now the lead role there, but you were giving me permission basically to enter into that, because now I'm seeing, oh, what I say has weight. What I say, she hears and she responds well to. And so now I can go and continue to try to have more conversations. I think there was a question basically of like, is it okay for a woman to pursue a man? I think what we're answering here and what I'm answering is it depends on what your idea of pursuit is. Like, you weren't pursuing me in that instance, but you were open to giving me hints that I picked up subconsciously and consciously. Okay, now I have permission basically to go and try to do this. Not that, it's more of like there's a confidence to a man that now this is going to potentially go somewhere, and now I'm going to go do that.
To it. Yeah.
And so it's not you taking the lead and trying to get me. It is me now. I'm still trying to pursue you. I just know that it's working. And so I think there are certain ways that you can let a man know that things are working, and for him to keep going without being the one that's pursuing, and without, hitting him upside the head and being like, hey, dummy, come ask me out.
Yeah. And if you have to do that, if you have to say, hey, dummy, come ask me out, he's probably not there. Not the one.
Yeah.
Not the one.
All right, I get to do my first ad read. And our next sponsor is We Heart Nutrition, the absolute best place to get women's vitamins, and now men's vitamins as well, for all ages. And so the owners are Jacob and Kristen, a pro-life couple with 5 kids. They share the same values as you and me, and they donate 10% of every purchase you make with them to pregnancy care centers. So I have been taking their new men's vitamins. I have their multivitamin for men. I have their magnesium glycinate, and I think that they are great. So I have been, I've used supplements for quite some time now. And then whenever I started taking We Heart Nutrition, I could tell just a difference, that these things are, they're getting me what I need. Like, I'm feeling a little bit more energy. I'm feeling a little bit more pep in my step some. And it really gets me the support I need. So I miss sometimes getting every, micronutrient, whether that's through, not eating enough vegetables or fruits or otherwise. So I like having a multivitamin. A multivitamin makes sure that I get all those bases covered. And then magnesium as well. Magnesium has so many health benefits. And I like the glycinate form because it is a little bit better on the absorption, doesn't hurt your stomach, and it's a little bit easier on you. So magnesium glycinate and the multivitamin have been very great for me. I also have an omega supplement as well, omega-3, which has a good proportion of both types of fatty acids that you need when it comes to the omega-3s. So been great supplements for me. I've very much enjoyed them. All their products also come with a 60-day happy heart guarantee. So if for any reason you don't love the products, you can return them, even if the bottle is empty. And right now, with your very first order placed of $50 or more, you will receive their signature bamboo capsule bottle box for free. It's beautiful. It makes remembering to take your vitamins easy. It's easy to travel with. I know that's what we do. Throw the travel box in the bag, and then you have all your supplements ready for you to go. So if you're not sure exactly what you need, they do have a 20-second quiz on their site where you can get personalized recommendations. Head on over to their website, weheartnutrition.com, and use code Allie for 20% off your order. That's weheartnutrition.com, code Allie.
Okay, who has the bigger sweet tooth between the two of you? Me or you? It's me.
Yeah, it's you. I was going to say, like, who needs sweets, like, more frequently, but, like...
Me.
Yeah, it is you. I think I could eat more sweets at one time than you, but...
Doubt.
But, yeah, you probably have the bigger sweet tooth.
I don't believe that. No, you're more of, like, you want to snack on chips Chips and salsa more.
And then get in like a bad loop of like piece of chocolate chips.
Hey, we don't need to talk bad about ourselves right now. That's not what this is about. No, but I have more of a weakness of a sweet tooth. I get it honest. I literally have it passed down to me from my grandmother.
Yeah.
Who was appalled. My mom always tells the story that she was appalled when my mom told her that my brother at 2 years old had never had M&Ms. She thought she probably wanted to call CPS. Like, this is key to a person's diet. So sweet tooth, get it from my grandma and my dad, and I've also passed it down to my children. So I have the bigger sweet tooth. Let's see. I'm trying to find another like shorter question. What books are you reading right now besides Toxic Empathy, which you just always have on loop?
It's always playing in the background.
Yeah.
One book that you got me, I believe it was like Christmas I just asked you to pick up a book at Barnes & Noble because you were there with one of our kids.
He said, pick up a book that looks interesting to me.
Yeah, and you picked up Shelby Foote's first book in his little Civil War anthology.
Yeah.
And it is good. Now, I've taken a little pause for a few weeks on it, but
yeah.
I have read a pretty good chunk into that, and it's interesting. I'm at that age that every man gets where you start, reading about some war, whether it's the Civil, Vietnam, World War II.
Yeah.
Right now, it's the Civil War for me.
Yeah. You really like war books.
Yeah.
Okay. What has Allie done? I promise I did not write these questions. What has Allie done that you're most proud of? There's a lot of questions about me in here, just as a heads up.
Share the arrows, for sure. I was proud of that whenever we were booking the venue and walking out on stage. And
this is besides giving birth, by the way.
Oh, yeah. The question was specific, besides birth and marriage.
Yeah.
So walking out on stage whenever it was empty, we were just touring the venue spot, and I was just thinking about it being full. So that made me very proud, being able to walk out on that stage, see a audience full of women that were all there live. It was one thing. I know you get a ton of viewers and listeners, and very proud of the show too. But to see it all live, that people come physically to gather, that was what I've been most proud of, is Share the Arrows, and can't wait for this year.
Yeah, me too. What is it like having, this says, I don't like using this word, but this says famous wife. Okay. What is it like having a wife that has a podcast? I'll say that.
Yeah. And that gets recognized whenever we go out sometimes. So I would say it is, you get really good at taking pictures. At least I think I'm decent at it now because I've had so much practice. So, just letting people line up, and it's always really nice whenever people say, oh no, like, do you mind? It's like, this is what I'm here for. Like, I'm ready to take this picture.
Sometimes they want to take a picture with you.
Sometimes.
Remember that time that you were traveling by yourself without me and someone recognized you as Chief Relatabro and asked to take a picture with you?
I do remember that time, and I don't think I took the picture, and I'm sorry to that person. I think going back, maybe I would change and maybe take the picture, but I was out from a work trip. It was late at night. My flight had been delayed, and I was ready to get home, and I'm sorry, I should have taken the picture.
Yeah. People ask a lot, do people recognize you? And it's not like, obviously, it's not like everywhere I go, I get swarmed with people. It's not that. But I would say I multiple times a week, yes. But it depends on where I am. Yeah. If I'm in an area that's obviously a more conservative area, it happens a lot.
Yeah. Or like what you said the other day on your show about the Nate Bargatze show. Like that was a lot of people.
That was
a big
lot. I felt like I was like the opener.
Yeah.
And that there were people lined up to see me, and that was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
But yeah, if I'm like in New York City, it doesn't happen as much. What advice do you have for girl dads?
To enjoy it. I mean, girls are so sweet, and they are so cute, and whenever they want to dress up, just dress them up. Like, get a bunch of princess dresses and a bunch of costume jewelry and a
bunch of fake makeup.
And just let them go. And have your wife, like, doll them up in the makeup and all that, and then you just go out and tell them how
stage we're in.
Yeah, and just go out and tell them how beautiful they are. And
it is really sweet. Whenever they always want me, especially our middle, she just loves me putting makeup on her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll put makeup on them, and the first person they want to see them is daddy.
Yeah.
Where's daddy? Where's daddy? And they just want to show.
Yeah.
They just like want to show daddy that they're in a princess dress, and they walk out all bashful. I mean, it really is. It sounds like a caricature of what it's like having like girls, but that is what our life is like.
It is.
Every
And
day.
so just enjoy that. Get really good at just compliments in ways that a 3-year-old can understand, that you're just so impressed. That would be my first advice, is that they're going to be just beautiful little princesses.
Yeah,
and enjoy
we have,
that.
and we have a lot of nephews, and genuinely, all of our nieces and nephews are just like great kids, and just like their parents are awesome, and they're just all great kids, and I just love them all. Our nephews are like, they're boys. They're more rambunctious. They play totally differently. And when I'm around my nephews, I'm like, wow, this is really different.
Mm-hmm.
The noise level, the smell, everything is so different than having girls. And like, there's so many like pros for both, and so much different kinds of fun for both. But like, our house is just like a very typical girl house. And he was like, maybe one day we'll also have a boy, but like, you were made to be a girl dad. You're great girl dad.
Thanks.
Let's see. What is your favorite memory with me besides getting married and besides the birth of our 3 children?
Yeah. I really, really look back very fondly at, now it's obvious to be like, oh, Newlywed was really great. But like the fact that we were in Athens, Georgia. It's a college town, and like just living life, like we had responsibilities and we took them seriously, but basically like we were in college still, in a fun way of like being able to walk randomly to our favorite restaurants and to, just go to football games. That was a really fun and sweet time, and very unique. I don't think a lot of people do get the opportunity to live in a college town not as awesome as Athens, and to be married to, to the brand new wife. Like that's a really sweet, precious time that we had, and I really think back fondly on that. Yeah. I think of a lot of our kind of just the travel and the trips that we took. We also took a trip to San Francisco.
That's what I was thinking.
Before we had our oldest, and it was actually like when we got home, you found out you were pregnant.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was thinking of the time we went to San Francisco before that with Granddaddy.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun too. You used to go to San Francisco, and it wasn't just like complete degeneracy and literal, human
poop
waste on the street.
Yeah.
And so it was a great place and a great city, and I think it was really fun to be there.
We haven't been back since 2018.
We have not. But yeah, that trip, the trip with Grenade was good, and the second trip also was very good, just because it was fun. I remember going down to where the Giants play baseball and just walking around. Like there was no game or anything going on that day, but just kind of hanging out around there was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did a lot of little things like that. And like, we didn't go on any fancy trips or anything because we didn't have any money. But yeah, just the freedom that you have. And obviously having kids is something to look forward to, and it's not something to put off. But just know that if you're married now and you don't have kids, you have get as much sleep as you can. Yeah. Do as much as you can. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You don't have to go on a trip to Europe, or maybe you can afford to do that, and you should. That's awesome. But get those memories in, lay a really good foundation before you have kids. Because it'll be a little bit. It's not like you won't have fun. It's not like you won't have adventures, but it'll be a little bit before you have that freedom and flexibility again.
And they're not going to be the same trips. They're going to be great, but either your kids are going to be with you, or you're going to be thinking about them, which is great. But you're still going to be having something going on in your head about them, because you have humans that you take care of now, that you love with everything in your whole body. And so, enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy the freedom and the flexibility while you can. Last break to tell you about the next installment in Blaze TV host Matt Kibbe's new documentary series called The Cover-Up. The Cover-Up is about the U.S. government covering up the corruption in our public health apparatus. You know that Fauci is a part of this corruption, but you might not know how far back his corruption goes. And that is why Matt Kibbe is talking in this latest episode to Dr. Richard E. Bright. He is a molecular biologist from Rutgers University. He's had Fauci on his radar since 2001 during the anthrax scare, after which Dick Cheney empowered Fauci and the NIAID with the authority and funding for biodefense, once reserved solely for the Department of Defense. And you probably don't even know the horrific effects that empowerment has had over the past couple decades. But none of this has been a surprise to Dr. Ebright. And what he tells Matt Kibbe is absolutely stunning. So if you want to be a part of exposing this corruption and really making a change, you need to subscribe to Blaze TV. Go to FauciCoverup.com/Allie. Use code SMOKINGGUN for $30 off your subscription. You'll get access to all Blaze TV content. FauciCoverup.com/Allie, code SMOKINGGUN. Okay, what are your thoughts on so Luka this is a real question that we got, is the Mavs player that just got traded. And here's one thing about me. I don't know if y'all know this. Timothy can say this. I can get interested in anything. Like Timothy wants to turn on a documentary, or he's like, I want to start watching this guy on like YouTube, or like, oh, let's start learning about fly fishing. He wants to watch a UFC fight. Like I can get into and interested in like anything. That probably also helped my game when we were dating too. But I was like really interested in learning about, I'm like not really a basketball fan or really a sports fan at all, but I knew people were super disappointed that this guy named Luka, I hear he's tall and good at basketball, he got traded from the Mavs. And people were like, why the heck would the Mavs trade him? So like, can you tell us what you think about that? Because I guess the people want to know.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. And then backing up a little bit too, just about being interested and all that. Somebody asked like, what's one of the traits that you like the most about Allie? And it is genuinely like your curiosity. Like you will sit down and be interested in. I'm not the same way. Like I might be interested in what I'm interested in, but I'm not interested in things necessarily for the sake of being interested. Like you are. Like you will find something you don't know and just take it and be like, this is really cool. Whether it's like watching some dude teach you how to, do exercises in meal prep, or if it's fly fishing, like you said.
Wait, remember when I tried to learn the banjo the other night without a banjo?
Yeah. We watched some YouTube videos on banjo. And I was like, we don't even have a banjo.
I know.
Why are we
doing
this?
You intervened at that point because I was trying to like air guitar the banjo, and you were like, stop it. We don't have a banjo. You're not going to do this right now.
Yeah.
So it's even to a fault sometimes, my interest, my errant interest.
So I do appreciate that about you, how you are interested even in sports, even in listening to my sports takes. So the Luka trade, I'm not a huge NBA fan. I like watching sports and I follow sports. I like college basketball, but I don't really watch a ton of the NBA. But the local team, and you're trying to watch the Mavs. It's sad. It's sad that they traded away Luka. Like, how do you trade away a top 5 player in the NBA in his prime? Not even in his prime yet. He's 25 years old. He's been in the league for 5 years, and he's made the All-NBA team. All-NBA means that you're the best player at your position, and you're literally one of the 5 best players in the league. And he's made that every year that he's been in the league. And you just don't get a player like that and get rid of them. You build your franchise around that type of player. You don't just trade them. And what they got back in return is ridiculous. It's ridiculous what they got back in return.
What did they get?
They got an aging former superstar in Anthony Davis, and then some other small pieces.
Is that the guy with the eyebrows?
Yeah.
Weird eyebrows?
Good job. Yeah.
Okay.
And some other small pieces and maybe a couple of draft picks, but like they could have gotten way more. They could have gotten a king's ransom for him, and they barely got, anything. And so it brings up the conspiracy theories, and I'm all for your conspiracy theories. So if you have a theory, or somebody like your husband has a theory you want to send it our way, just like I want to hear all the theories, because I cannot believe that is a pure basketball move that they got rid of Luka. So I've heard great things.
Tell us the theory.
I've heard things about it potentially being, the new owners of the Mavs. They really want to bring sports betting into Texas. The legislature. I believe it's the Adelsons, and I believe it's from Las Vegas Sands. If that's not the case, then please correct me or
Disregard.
take it out. So they are trying to bring sports betting into the state of Texas. The legislature of Texas has fortunately kept that from happening. And so there's some conspiracies around like maybe potential sabotage. It's like, okay, if we sabotage the team, then maybe they will allow us to move the team to Vegas because enough of the fans will get angry. And then Vegas obviously
move the Mavs to Vegas?
Yeah, move the Mavs to Vegas.
Oh, see, that's the missing piece that I did not realize.
Yeah, move
like
the
how
Mavs to Vegas, and then there would be a new team that would take over for them in Dallas. But the team that owns the current ownership would move their team to Dallas, or put their thumb on the scales enough to try to get sports betting legal in Texas. And I just, my other take, kind of my old man yells at clouds, which I don't think is really that. I think it's a true take on sports betting is that it's just, I don't like it. I don't like it for a few reasons. The morality of it, I don't like that. Yeah, I think that it's wrong morally and against what we should be doing as Christians. But then also I do believe as well that there's some other consequences, both for the culture and how, we're allowing this type of behavior, allowing this type of, risky, gambling or whatever to take place. You have families being destroyed because of it, because you're overextending yourself. And you might make the argument, oh, it's just like having any other type of entertainment or any other type of fun. But for a lot of people, it's not like that. A lot of people can't control it. And so I do think that we have laws around certain moralities for particular reasons. And so I do think that sports betting is something that is pretty detrimental to society. And then the third thing is that it warps sports media. I used to really enjoy being able to turn on SportsCenter and just watch sports and watch the analysts talk about the game. But now it's all from the betting lens. It's like, what props do we have coming up, or what's the line on the current game, and how can we bet this and all this stuff. And I want my sports podcast to just be, talk about the game, talk about what's going on. I used to watch SportsCenter, as every kid, every boy growing up in the '90s. Like I used to watch it in the summer, like for 4 times, or it would just keep on playing, and I would watch it every time. And now SportsCenter is basically unwatchable. They have their own, betting that they have to do, and betting app that they have to promote. And so I think there's a lot of ways that it has warped the sports media and has changed the way that, we kind of consume sports. And as somebody that consumes a lot of sports, I don't really like that. And so that's my take.
I just think it's degenerate, and it takes like the pure fun out of sports. As someone who doesn't know that much about sports, I totally agree with you. And plus, I just don't like degeneracy. I feel like it is like walking to a city and smelling weed. You're like, the city is still great, just like basketball is still great or baseball is still great. But now it's just got this stench that just kind of ruins it, always in the background. That's kind of what sports betting is to sports.
And there's obvious take too that you can just think, oh, how will this affect the outcome of games? How will this affect players? How will this affect coaches, referees? And you'll have the proponents of sports betting saying, oh no, it doesn't affect that. The outcome of the game will be the same. Don't worry about that. Well, literally there have been professional basketball players that has been betting on games to the point to where he would go in at halftime, and so he was a role player, so he didn't play that much. But so he would be able to tell his buddies, put in a bet, hey, the coach isn't going to put me back in the second half. And so bet the under. So meaning I think that he would score fewer than a certain amount of points. Bet the under on my point total because I'm not going back out. And so you could see there's these huge influxes of cash on this player's particular prop. He's a player that's not getting a lot of minutes. So it's like, why is this person getting a lot of bets put on him? It makes sense for people to bet on LeBron James because he plays almost every minute of the game. But this guy, why would you bet on what he's going to do? And so it turns out it was him, kind of maybe directing his buddies and other things. And so that takes away the legitimacy of the game. Umpire for MLB just got fired because he was sharing a betting account with another buddy. And basically he was saying that he didn't bet on his games, but the account that he shared admittedly did bet on the games that this guy was umpiring. And so that affects the outcome of games too. So as a sports purist as well, there's that side of it too. So
just makes it feel fake. We're anti-degeneracy. Okay. Well, that's it. That was our last question. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that we want to say for a Valentine's Day episode?
No, I don't know. If I didn't get to, since I talked a lot about sports betting, Luka trade devastating. I wish that
it didn't happen.
I wish that it didn't happen.
In sum, marriage is good. And marriage is fun, and having kids and having family is fun. Don't let anyone tell you any different. And yeah, you get to grow with the person, and don't settle for anything less than the person that you truly want to grow old with. Also, the person that's following Christ, but the person that you really like and love. And I'm just very thankful this Valentine's Day and every Valentine's Day that I get that, and that I've gotten to spend every year since I was 22. Yeah, 22 when we were just dating, with the love of my life, Chief Relatabro. So yeah, thanks.
Same. Happy Valentine's Day.
You too.